Can we clap our hands in this place? Come on, we can do better than that. Are you ready for a powerful experience this evening? Mic check, 1, 2. Can we clap our hands in this place? We welcome you to the First Baptist Church of James Island, where we've been on this same corner since 1869. From those who came through the oppression of slavery, and we're also glad to see that some of that family lineage still resides here in our church. And so some of the songs that you heard just now, Sit Down Servant and Rest a Little While, you can still get that experience here every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. as our worship experience. We are happy and proud to partner with the International African American Museum again on this year as we engage in this powerful experience. As you make yourself welcome here in our safe place, for those of you that are visiting with us for the very first time, our ladies' lounge is to my left, your right, and our men's lounge is to my right, your left. And so in knowing that, I greet you, so do me a favor and turn to the person next to you and give them $1 million smile and tell them, keep the change.
That's the comedian pastor of First Baptist Church. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. I'm Reverend Demet Jenkins, and I am part of the faith-based team at the International African American Museum. So on behalf of our CEO and president, Dr. Tanya Matthews, our board of directors, our faith-based team, our staff and volunteers, we welcome you here tonight. We are honored that you are here for one of our signature programs. And we do this a lot, and you'll hear more about the purpose of it and why we do this. But we are excited that the International African American Museum preserves history, and particularly our Gullah Geechee history. And so it's up to us as persons who work at the museum, but it's up to you as well to continue to preserve this history. Our ancestors would be honored and proud that we maintain the culture and the legacy of this culture. And so we're honored to be able to present tonight our beautiful people, and you'll hear more from them. But our Awakening of the Ancestors program, this is our 6th program, and we have done it since 2019. And so every year we do a different theme. And so we're honored tonight to have the Days family. And, they are just legends as part of this culture. So we welcome you tonight. Please take notes, listen, clap, sing, stand, stomp your feet, whatever it is you feel. You have permission to do that in this space. Amen? All right. Thank you so much for being here.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you again for joining us today. My name is Brandy Toussaint, and I am also a part of the faith-based team at the International African American Museum. If you are new to our Awakening of the Ancestors Through Music program, I'm going to share with you briefly the why for us being here this afternoon. The Awakening of the Ancestors Through Music program dives into the spirituals and ancestral songs of our people and allows you, the audience, to experience these songs that continue to inspire worship and activism around the world. This program is also built to share information on the historical, cultural, and linguistic context of melodies, rhythms, lyrics, and movements that can sometimes be traced back to specific African regions. We would like to thank the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor for partnering with us to take you all on a journey that celebrates and treasures the spirit of the Gullah Geechee people. We hope you enjoy.
Good afternoon. I'm Vereen Parnell. I'm the faith-based outreach coordinator for the International African American Museum. If ever there was a trio of Benya royalty that needed no introduction, the Days family certainly qualifies. Ms. Natalie, I know that you had some origins in New York, as do I, but I think you're ours now, so you have earned it. Ron and Natalie Days, even for those of us who were not lucky enough to be raised with or to raise children with Gullah Gullah Island, are a fixture in the preservation and celebration of Gullah culture. In addition to their TV legend, they have been, Natalie has been, continued to be a designer and an author and an educator for many years. And Ron not only serves as on the staff of Brook Green Gardens, and as someone who grew up going to Brook Green Gardens, the transformation made by his presence and their commitment to telling the African American story without qualms or sidesteps. I think we owe a lot to Mr. Days. He also has, both Natalie and Ron Days have new books out front, and after the program, they'll be there to talk to you about those books. Some of them, when you come to the museum, will also be in our gift shop there, and we hope you will avail yourself of being one of the first to read the new books. Sarah McCabe Days may or may not be as familiar to you, but she is a fixture in her own right in the Black feminist, Afrofuturist, and a number of other progressive movements for education, healing, and preservation of culture. I want to really encourage you, highly recommend to you her essay, which is called Be Here Now, The South is a Portal. It's brilliant and thought-provoking, and you can find it by Googling Sarah McCabe Days. Sarah is, her endeavors span indigenous sovereignty, Gullah Geechee culture, Black feminism, and Afrofuturism, among other things. Central to her mission is uplifting Black, queer, trans, and non-binary individuals, promoting healing. My experience of her work when I've had the chance to encounter her at workshops and symposiums is that above and beyond everything, I would call you a healer, Ms. Sarah. And so do yourself the favor of finding her when she is near you doing her work. So thank you all, and help me welcome the Days family.
How y'all doing? Can y'all hear me? Good. I am so very happy to be here with y'all this afternoon, this evening, whatever time it is. Y'all look beautiful. Very pleased. And as you saw in the program, and as those who introduced us just shared, we are going to have a night of stories and songs and celebration. And I am largely here to both set the tone, but also bring us really present. Sometimes it is very easy when we think about our ancestors, when we think about those who transitioned before us, it just kind of seems so out there, right? Our ancestors don't seem like something that we have access to. They don't seem like beings that we can have conversations with at any time. And many of us descend from indigenous people who knew that you could, that life did not end at death, that it kept going, that energy does not die. And as one of my ancestors, Myrtle G. Glasgow, says, the more that we call on our ancestors' names, the more that we come to them each day, the more alive they come in us. So I want to encourage everybody just take a deep breath. Exhale, ground yourself into this moment, into your surroundings. I also, before we get started, want to take a brief moment of silence, because I don't know about y'all, but me and my family have lost a lot of people in a short period of time. So I would like to take a moment of silence for just those we have lost in the last 12 months, those we have lost to illness, those we have lost to neglect, those we have lost to violence, both intra-communal and state-sanctioned violence. Just want to take a moment and be with them right now. Nanyeye gun sawo sawo asasiaye gun sawo sawo Nanyeye gun sawo aye Nanyeye gun sawo sawo Nanyeye amuye gun sawo sawo Nanyeye gun sawo aye. And this is a Ghanaian song. It is traditionally sung to welcome and acknowledge the ancestors in whatever space you are in. So we want to acknowledge the indigenous ancestors, our African ancestors, our Gullah Geechee ancestors. We want to acknowledge all those who transitioned before we did. And so if you feel led, you can call out some names. We want to be very intentional about ushering folks into this space with us right now. So I'm going to name my Aunt Jan. I'm going to name my Nana Gloria. And name my grandmother Kathleen. If y'all want to just name some names right now, we want to have a chorus of ancestors in this space. Don't be scared. Just call a name out. Call out. Ashe. 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 Ashe, ashe, ashe. And anytime throughout the evening, you can always call out a name. You can always usher somebody else into this space. So we are going to have a little bit of dialogue after my parents come out and sing songs and invoke the ancestors and remind us who we are. And there are actually just 3 questions that I want to leave you with. So I know y'all probably expected to come and ask us questions, but I got questions for y'all. So the 3 prompts, these are the things that I want you to be thinking about as we listen, as we worship, hi Paul, as we praise, as we give thanks. And I'm going to ask y'all to repeat after me, because what these are prompts. These prompts are going to allow us to remember that we are in intergenerational community, not just with our elders, with our ancestors, with our youth, but with our ancestors. So the first prompt we have is, when my ancestors see me, they see. Can I get y'all to repeat that? When my ancestors see me, they see. And so an example of what you might say after that is, my ancestors see someone who is trying their best. My ancestors see someone who is doing everything they can to be a present parent. The next prompt is, I teach my ancestors that it is okay. Can you repeat after me? I teach my ancestors that it is okay. So an example might be, I teach my ancestors that it is okay to rest. I teach my ancestors it is okay to change your mind. I teach my ancestors it is okay to divest from systems that do not serve us. We have one more. The final prompt is, my ancestors remind me. My ancestors remind me. Thank you. An example might be, my ancestors remind me we are stronger together. My ancestors remind me death is not the end. My ancestors remind me impossible things are happening every day. Thank y'all so much. I would like y'all to join me in welcoming the people who made me, Ron and Natalie Days.
Our best work. Well, we have two, so both of them.
on the Sea Islands and coastal communities spanning from southern North Carolina throughout South Carolina, Georgia, all the way down to St. Augustine, Florida. Music and storytelling once played an integral part of day-to-day life.
There were the work songs for rowing, for hauling.
Escape songs.
And there were the praise house songs that filled the air with harmony.
I'm a-rollin', I'm a-rollin', I'm a-rollin' through this unfriendly world. I'm a-rollin', I'm a-rollin' through this unfriendly world. I'm a-rollin', I'm a-rollin', I'm a-rollin' through this unfriendly world. I'm a-rollin', I'm a-rollin' through this unfriendly world. We've been coming a long time, oh yes. We've been coming a long time, oh yes. We've been coming a long time, coming a long time, coming a long time, oh yes. We had trials on the way, oh yes. We had trials on the way, oh yes. We had trials on the way, trials on the way, but we've been coming a long time, oh yes. Ooh, 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 ooh. I'm a-rollin', I am a-rollin' through this unfriendly world. Forgotten moments. Only few remember. A history of a people has been hushed, been stilled.
Yet only few weep. Only few sing the old songs or recall precious moments.
Precious memories, though, are like the lyrics of old slave songs. They should not be stored up in the minds of a few. They should linger from generation to generation,
Lending meaning to the past.
nurturing strength and hope for the future.
When I met Ron, almost 41 years ago now, I'd like to say I was a little kid, but y'all know better. He was writing a book, and that poem was the opening of that book, Reminiscences of Sea Island Heritage. And it was Ron who first let me know that I was a storyteller. I did not know before then. I was born one, I did not know. But I'd like to start with the story, a West African tale. And it is about a family in a small village, and the father was very well respected. Whenever he spoke, everyone listened. Now this man had 4 sons and a wife. And one day he went to his wife and he said, well, I'm going to go hunting and I'm going to take our sons with me. And his wife said, no, don't take the boys because I'm expecting our next child, and right now I can't do any of the heavy work in the garden or the yard, so would you leave the boys here? And so the father agreed, and he gathered his weapons and he gathered some supplies. He went off across the field and entered the woods to go hunting, and the boys watched him go, and then they turned and they began to help their mother. So if she needed something chopped, they chopped it. If she needed something heavy carried, they carried it. Weeds pulled, they pulled them. And at the end of the day, they gathered around the family meal. And as they were eating, one of the sons said, Father isn't back yet. And they finished their meal, and they went to bed. Well, the next day, they got up, and it was very much the same. If their mother needed something chopped, they chopped it. If she needed something pulled, they pulled it. If she needed something carried, they carried it. And at the end of the day, they gathered for their meal. And another son said, Father's not back yet. And they went to bed. And this went on day after day until finally no one even said, Father's not back yet. And the time came when the mother gave birth, the fifth child, another little boy. And it did what babies do. You know, it cried, it crawled. And eventually it began to speak. And the first thing the baby said was, Where is my father? And his brother said, That's right, Father isn't back yet. Maybe we should go and look for him. I'm like, yeah. So the four older brothers, they gathered some weapons, they gathered some supplies, they went off across the field, and they entered the woods where they'd seen their father go. And they walked along the old hunting trails, but eventually they were overgrown and they were lost. They weren't sure what to do when one of the brothers said, You know I have some special powers. And his brothers said, Yeah, we know, because we all do. And he said, What you might not know is that my sense of scent is so strong, I can sometimes sniff out a trail that others that have gone cold. I might be able to find our father. And his brother said, You can? Well, you should do it then. So the oldest brother, he sniffed the air that way. And using their machetes and their knives, they cut their way through. And every time they got lost, he would stop and pick up the old trail again. And then finally, they cut their way through, and they ended up in a clearing. And there in the clearing, they saw rusted weapons and scattered bones. And they said, Some beast has killed our father. And they stood over their father's remains. They were so sad until the second brother said, So guys, you know I have some special powers. And the others said, Well, yes, of course, we all do. He said, What you might not know is that I am very good at bringing things together again, at connecting things that other people can't quite connect. And I might be able to do something here. And they said, You can? Well, you should do it then. So he stood over his father's bones and he began to speak. And as he began to speak, the skull attached itself to the jaw. Click. And the spinal column began to bring itself together. Click, 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 down to the arms, click, legs, click, 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 to the toes. Click, until a skeleton lay in the clearing. But it was just a skeleton. And as they stood there over their father's skeleton, the third son said, So hey guys, you know I've got some special powers. And they're like, yeah, we all do. He said, but what you may not know is that I have the ability to somehow put things back into the containers in which they belong. And I might be able to do something here. And they said, You can? Well, you should do it then. So he stood over his father's skeleton and he began to speak. And as he spoke, you could see the red muscle beginning to make its way over the bones. And the blood vessels whirling along the muscles, and finally the skin, until the father's body lay in the clearing, but it was still, didn't move. And then the fourth brother said, So hey guys, you know I got some special powers. And they're like, yeah, we all do. And he said, but what you might not know is I have some ability with the wind, and I might be able to do something here. And they said, You can? Well, you should do it then. So the fourth brother, he stood over his father's body, and he took in a breath, and his father said, and opened his eyes. And he sat up, and he said, You found me. I knew you'd find me. And they helped their father up, and they wrapped him in clothing, and they gathered the weapons, and they went back the way they came. And it was much easier now because, they had cleared the path. And eventually they came out of the woods at the edge of the fields. Now the people in the village were gathering for their evening meal, and they looked and said, I think there are 5 of them. They must have found their father. Some ran to get his wife, and others ran to greet them. And soon at the edge of the village, there was a great celebration. They were hugging and crying. And finally the man said, I have to say something. I'm so glad to be home, wife. Let us kill the fattest cow and have a huge celebration. And all I need you to do is to bring me the cow's tail. And so they slaughtered the cow, and they brought in the tail. And he cleaned the tail, and he cured it, and he wrapped it in gold and in jewels, and it was the most beautiful cow tail switch you'd ever seen. The kind of thing only an important person carried. And everywhere he went, he carried that cow tail switch, and everyone admired it. And the time finally came for the celebration, and there was dancing and drumming and eating and drinking, and it was just a good time. The party was going on into the night, but finally he raised the switch, and when he raised the switch, everyone was quiet. And he said, I am so glad to be back with my family, with my community, with my village. I'm so happy to be here, and I want to give this switch to the one who did the most to bring me back. And the first son said, well, that would be me, Daddy. They didn't even know where you were. But I sniffed you out. And he reached for the switch. But the second one said, yeah, but when we found you, Daddy, you were just bones, man. I put you together again. So that should be me. And he reached for the switch. But the third one said, who put him back in his skin and his muscle, right? That would be me. But the fourth one said, oh, I breathed the life into you. And they began to fight. I should get the switch. No, I should get the switch. This was going on for a while. And finally he raised the switch. And everyone was quiet. And he said, I have made my decision. And he handed the switch to who? The baby. Because he said, one is never truly gone until one is forgotten. End of story. I love that story because it is about the power of memory. I talk often to children, and I say to them, many of your ancestors, when they were brought here, they didn't have a backpack, a pocket, a suitcase, nothing. Nothing you could see. But what they did bring with them was what they knew, what they could do, and what they believed. What they knew, what they could do, and what they believed. And with that, they built a culture and a life that has been passed down to us right now. And it came here, you couldn't see it, but they brought it here in their memories. And we are going to share some of what you live daily and some of what we know that came here in our ancestors' memories with you today.
Ancestors, we honor you. Would you repeat those words after me? And when you hear ancestors, call out the names of some of your own. Ancestors, we honor you.
We honor you.
Because of the tears and horror you experienced and the resilience that you portrayed, that you lived to keep on going. Now, there's a spiritual, trouble will be over. Are you familiar with it? Trouble will be over. Amen. It originated during the Civil War because freedom was coming. They thought, trouble will be over when I see Jesus. Now, when I traveled to one of my African homelands, Sierra Leone, I wrote a song to the tune of Trouble Will Be Over, and it's tears and horror. Those are the words that once you hear them, feel free to join in. Tears and horror at the bonds I learn. Tears and horror at the bonds I learn. Africans on slave ships that saw their homeland when they left from bonds I learn. Tears and horror at the bonds I learn. Tears and horror at the bonds I learn. Africans on slave ships that saw their homeland when they left Rombo's Island. In the deep white harbor near Sierra Leone, there was once a castle that was well known. Africans on slave ships last saw their homeland when they left Rombo's Island. Time ticks and the ruins remain. In the winds their voices are heard again. Africans on slave ships last saw their homeland when they left Rombo's Island. In the winds their voices prevail, and their cries they wail. Their marches out to the slave ships. We last saw our homeland when we left Rombo's Island. Tears and horror and a bonds Island. Tears and horror and a bonds Island. Africans on slave ships last saw their homeland when they left Rombo's Island. In their African homelands, they were hauled together in prisons, sometimes called castles, in outdoor barracoons. And it was all because of diaspora. Diaspora it means the dispersal or scattering of any homogeneous groups of peoples or cultures. It is a very nice sounding word, but its meaning is very heavy. I want you to feel the weight of that word on your eardrums and on your tongues. Say it after me, please. Diaspora. Now, I want you to repeat that word to the rhythm that I will set, and do not stop repeating it until I clap my hands. Diaspora, 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 diaspora. African diaspora, set the seas afloat, diaspora. The seeds and the spores went to unknown shores, scattered throughout, diaspora, diaspora. African diaspora, huddled on the ships of the Middle Passage, shackled and chained and wet with lashes. Some Africans endured, others fought, some jumped overboard with this one thought: oh, freedom! Oh, freedom! Oh, freedom over me! Over me, and before I be a slave, I be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Diaspora, 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 diaspora. African diaspora, set the seas afloat, diaspora. The seeds and the spores went to unknown shores, scattered throughout diaspora, diaspora, African diaspora. And those seeds, those spores, were scattered to connected communities like our own, the Gullah Geechee community, the communities of Jamaica, the West Indies, Cuba, Puerto Rico, as far away as Brazil, where because of our ancestors, we are connected in our spiritual beliefs, our food ways, our music, our rhythms.
I open my mouth unto the Lord, and I won't turn back no more. I will go, I shall go to see what the end is gonna be. I opened my mouth unto the Lord, and I won't turn back no more. I will go, I shall go to see what the end is going to be. The Jordan River is chilly and cold to see what the end is going to be. It chills my body, but not my soul, to see what the end is going to be. Well, I open my mouth unto the Lord, and I won't turn back no more. I will go, I shall go, to see what the end is going to be. If you don't believe that I've been redeemed, to see what the end is going to be, just follow me down to Jordan Stream to see what the end is going to be. Well, I opened my mouth unto the Lord, and I won't turn back no more. I will go, I shall go, to see what the end is going to be.
We brought our faith with us. Whether or not we had the practicing Christian faith that many of us follow today, we brought with us an absolute belief that there was a higher power that was looking out for us. And that if we open our mouth, we would be heard. Our songs buoyed us up in the darkest and heaviest times. Our songs cheered us up when we need cheering up. Our songs told us that there was more joy somewhere.
There were golden message songs as well.
And some of the songs, yes, that sounded like that they were about praise, also were about a different kind of freedom, not just spiritual freedom. We're talking about physical freedom. So some of the songs that we know as spirituals were used as coded messages for escape.
Like this one. Mary had a baby, hey Lord. Mary had a baby, hey my Lord. Mary had a baby, hey Lord. The people keep on coming, but the train done gone. Now, as I listened to that song throughout childhood on St. Helena Island, you know, it always seemed so strange to me. It was telling the Christmas story, but it said that Mary had a baby and the train done gone. And I began to reason why I don't believe that there were any locomotives back in Bethlehem. But then I learned that this was a song used on the Underground Railroad. Now, if an escape was planned and someone was waiting for it, but for whatever reason, it had left already, the response that would be echoed was, the people keep a-coming, but the train or the Underground Railroad had moved on to wait for another opportunity. Where did she born 'em? Eh, Lord. Where did she born 'em? Eh, my Lord. Where did she born 'em? Eh, Lord. The people keep a-coming, but the train done gone. She born him in a manger. Eh, Lord. Born him in a manger. Eh, my Lord. Born him in a manger. Eh, Lord. The people keep a-coming, but the train done gone. You know, Mary had a baby. Eh, Lord. Mary had a baby. Eh, my Lord. Mary had a baby. Eh, Lord. The people keep a-coming, but the train done gone. Let us stay in the field. Stay in the field. Stay in the field. Stay in the field until the war is ended. I say, stay in the field. Stay in the field. Children, stay in the field until the war is ended. I've never been to heaven, but I've been told till the war is ended. The streets up there are paved with gold till the war is ended. Come on, stay in the field. Stay in the field. Children, stay in the field until the war is ended. Now, heaven and home, the coded message, you know, others would listen and they thought that the singers were thinking of some celestial home in the by and by, but sometimes what they meant were places of freedom like Canada or Ohio, or maybe all the way back to Africa. And when they use words of Satan, well, they didn't always mean this red guy. Well, it could be some red person with horns, but it could be someone who acted like they had horns. It meant the slave driver or the overseer. Satan is sad, but I'm so glad till the war is ended. You know, he lost that soul he thought he had till the war is ended. Come on, stay in the field. Stay in the field. Stay in the field until the war is ended. Until the war is ended.
So, we both grew up singing. Singing was just like normal. We were like, we meet people who didn't sing. Like, y'all don't sing? In my house, everybody sang. And my little brother and my big brother and I had a little trio. You know, Mama had us up at church singing. And the first song that we sang as a trio turned out to be a coded message song, but we didn't know. But just think about it. If you were being tracked by dogs, how might you throw them off your track?
Wade in the water.
You see that host all dressed in red.
God's gonna trouble the water.
They look like the children that Moses led.
God's gonna trouble the water.
Everybody
You gotta wade in the water.
Everybody wade
in the water.
Children
wade in the water.
God's
Gonna trouble the water.
You see that host all dressed in white.
God's gonna trouble the water.
They look like the children of the Israelites.
God's gonna trouble the water.
Everybody
You better wade in the water.
Everybody wade
in the water. Children wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. God's gonna trouble the water. God's gonna trouble the water.
My family, my husband, my daughter Sarah, my son Simeon, and several other people greeted 2020 in Freetown, Sierra Leone. Who knew what that year was going to bring? But the beginning of the year, January 1, 2020, we were all together in Freetown. And while we were in Freetown, we visited a small museum. And in that museum, there was a curator who was talking about the artifacts that were in there. And one of the artifacts was a vest. It was a burlap vest with cowrie shells and little pockets on it. And I asked about it, and she said, oh, those were the vests that the warriors wore. Some of you know that not more than 25 years ago, there was a terrible civil war in Sierra Leone. The rebels, the government, was tearing up the country, going through the villages, killing the villagers. It was a horrible thing. And finally, the villagers, wondering what they could do, said, let us reach back to the old ways. Because you remember how we used to know how to fly? Remember how we used to know how to walk underwater? And all we need to do is to return to those rituals. And so, in these villages, they began to try to practice these rituals. And they made these vests, and in the little pockets, they sewed charms and prayers. And it gave them such confidence that they pushed the rebels out of their villages. And when I heard that story, when I heard her say, they reached back to the old ways when the people could fly, the hair on the back of my neck stood up because I'd heard that story. It was first recorded actually right outside in Charleston in the 1930s, WPA collecting stories. And there was this person sitting on their porch and they showed up with their recorder and they say, do you have a story? And the person said, well, they say that people could fly. They say that long ago, back in Africa, that they do magic. That they could float on the air like smoke rising up a chimney. But they say that when they packed them in those boats, they began to forget that they had that power. And the ups and the downs, the terror, the fear began to drive it out of their mind. And they stepped ashore here in Charleston, and some of them forgot completely, but not all of them. One who remembered was an old man. They called him Josh. And another was this tall, beautiful woman they called Sula. Now, Sula walked with a grace and a beauty that was as natural as her dark skin. But some folk thought she was uppity. Thought she had an attitude. Who did she think she was, walking around like she was somebody? Overseer really couldn't stand her. He gave her a hard time whenever he could. And one day, as Sula was working in the field with her child tied to her back, the baby began to cry. So Sula stopped work for a moment, and she wrapped the baby down around front, and she stooped to nurse the child. And the overseer said, and he was on his horse, and he came riding up, and he just pulled his whip off his saddle, and he said, I told you to keep working. He didn't even slow down. But she fell to her knees. Her back was bleeding, and the old man they called Josh, he saw this. He came running to help her, and she said, I got to leave this place. I got to leave before I forget who I am.
Then go, he said. And he began to speak to her words that were like winds from across a wide ocean, like breezes from a far distant land. And Sula, she just stepped up on the air like there were some kind of invisible stairs. And with her child held tight to her chest, she just flew away. Well, it was hot that day. It was so hot you could see the air just dancing and wiggling in front of your face the way it does. And one young man, he couldn't take that heat. He fell over. Then another. Old overseer came running to get them back to work, but the one they called Josh was there first, with those words that were like winds from across a wide ocean, like breezes from a far distant land. And those two young men just rolled over on the air and flew away like two big black birds. Conjure words, yelled the overseer. I heard you using conjure words. He went running after Josh, but Josh was gone. He was just running across those fields. He wasn't running like an old man. He was running like a free man. And he was running and he was saying those wind words. The breeze words to those in the field who could fly. And those who could fly stopped work. And they stood up. And they came together. And they joined hands in a great ring sing.
Ring the bell of freedom.
Ring the bell,
ring the bell,
ring the bell.
So they say,
So they say,
ring today,
ring today,
not tomorrow.
not tomorrow.
Ring the bell,
Ring the bell.
ring the bell for my loving mother.
Ring the bell, ring the bell.
So they say, ring today,
ring today,
not tomorrow.
not tomorrow.
Ring the bell, ring the bell. Heaven, ring the bell, so they say, ring today, not tomorrow, ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell.
The overseer came running to stop the singing. But they just rose up in the air like a great flock of big black birds up over the fields, over the plantations, and away, they say, to freedom. There are those who say, why would you tell that story? Because you know people can't fly. But those who remain told somebody, who told somebody, and I'm telling you, they say that the people could fly. And I believe it.
No more auction block for me. No more, no more, no more auction block for me. Many thousand gone. No more pint sword for me. No more, no more, no more pint sword for me. Many thousand gone. No more 100 lash for me. No more, no more, no more 100 lash for me. Many thousand gone.
Many
Thousand gone. Many thousand gone. And we celebrate our ancestors. We celebrate our ancestors because of the stories, the music of hope that they left us with. Songs like these. Just a minute. somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere.
You ready? I'm not the melody on this one, though, so I'm just kind of waiting a little bit till he's good. Y'all good?
Change the melody.
Okay. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more love somewhere. And you can help me because it's normally a duet. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Tell you that this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me. I tell you, the world didn't give it, and the world can't take it. The world can't take it away. This peace that I have, the world didn't give it to me. This peace that I have, the world didn't give it to me. Oh no, this peace that I have, the world didn't give it to me. I tell you, the world didn't give it, and the world can't take it. The world can't take it away. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Okay. Ron's voice don't go on. So he was going to share the Exodus with you in Gullah, but he can't be able to do that. But what we will say is
when we talk about Gullah, and I come here from New York on the Greyhound bus 41 years ago. I said I'd be here for 2 weeks 41 years ago. Time just stretch out. They say in Gullah, time does stretch out. But one of the things that we were blessed and able to do in the early years was to work on the translation of the New Testament into Gullah. And there's actually, I see some copies of the New Testament. Ron and I were part of that original team. And when we were told, we weren't asked because it was his mama, that we would be working with the Wycliffe Bible translators on this project, she told us we were going to do it because everyone should have the Word of God in their own language. Now, Mama did not speak Gullah at that time because she went to the Penn School, and she had it trained right out of her. And then she was a teacher, and she taught in the one-room schools on St. Helena before the bridges were there, when you had to get a bateau over to the island where your school was. But as Mama got older, and she was almost 102 and she died, the code switching fell away. And as Sarah would say, "Grandma, you so geechee." And she went back to her first language, and it was a privilege. So we're going to sing.
Let me try it. Nope.
Okay. Well, we're going to sing Mama's last song, her favorite song, and then I'm going to turn it back over to Sarah McCabe. This was my mother-in-law's favorite song. Well, I come this far, I find no fault, I feel like journey on. I come this far, I find no fault, I feel like journey on. Well, I come this far, I find no fault, I feel like journey on. I come this far, I find no fault, I feel like journey on. You know I am sometimes up, I'm sometimes down, but I feel like journey on. Sometimes most level to the ground, feel like journey on. Feel like journey on. So his mama came through for him.
Okay, so I know I left you with some prompts. I left you with some thoughts. I'm wondering if any of you are feeling so courageous and led to share perhaps something you realize your ancestors see when they see you, something that you realized while listening that you are actually modeling for your ancestors, or something that your ancestors reminded you of this evening. So I'm going to start and say that my ancestors remind me that we do not need social media to communicate across space and time and continents. We come from people who spread messages all over in a way that's kind of hard to imagine with the means and mediums that we're used to today, to think about how our enslaved ancestors sent coded messages, to think about how we throughout the diaspora stayed in communication and culture with those of us who did not even land in the same place. That is powerful remembering, and particularly when we rely on systems like social media that have done so much good for us, that provide us with insight that we might not gain otherwise. It is important to remember that that's not all we have, that that's not the only algorithm, that that's not the only system that we have to be tapped into. So that is something that I'm remembering today. Anybody else? Yeah, come on. Do we have anybody who could bring the mics around?
Thank you, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity, and I'm loving this right here as much as possible. But when my ancestors see me, they see themselves. They see the greatness in me. They see the perseverance in me. They see the persistence. They see the grittiness in me. They see the unwavering faith that I have, that I can do anything, and that all things are possible as well.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? And I would love, take the opportunity. We got a hand over here. Talk your stuff. Think about the people who will come after you, how you see them. How do you think those that love you see you?
Good afternoon, everyone. This is really a beautiful program, and I only found it last night on social media, actually, so we still need some social media. But I just want to say, when my ancestors see me, they see the strength within me. Through difficult moments, I can stand because of them. On their backs, I stand. And I'm teaching my children that, because I have my son and my granddaughter here with me today so that they can experience this. And I want to say thank you to all of you for this.
Thank you. Any other reminders? Anything you recognize you're teaching? Here we go.
My ancestors remind me that I am enough.
Ashe. Yes. Yes. There is nothing to prove. We came here enough. Anybody else? Anybody else? We got a hand over here.
When my ancestors see me, they see the same stubborn spirit that got them through.
Ashe. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
When my ancestors see me, they see resilience.
Yes, ashe, ashe.
Good evening. My ancestors remind me to keep on stirring the pot, keep on cooking the food, keep on sharing the love, keep on being about our nutrition. Ashe.
Ashe.
When my ancestors see me, they see someone trying to right their wrongs.
Ashe. Ashe. Got another hand right here.
My ancestors remind me that they and Spirit have given me all that I need right in here.
Ashe. Ashe.
What a blessed time to be here. When my ancestors see me, they see me living, dreaming, believing, and trusting in God and His faithfulness.
When my ancestors see me, they see the commitment to continue on what they've started.
I just want to throw out, I teach my ancestors that it is okay to quit a job that makes you want to die.
When my ancestors see me, they see the answers to their prayers that the generations that follow will have a better life than what they had.
Ashe. Ashe. Thank you.
Just want to be reminded that the purpose of the focus of this program is we are the future our ancestors dreamed, and that we are.
Anyone else? Go ahead and close it up. I want to thank you all so much, and I want to encourage you to stay in conversation, to stay in communication, to stay in the knowing of what we are doing to continue the work, the knowing of what we are doing to right the wrongs, the knowing of what we are doing to stand in our power, to be present, that when we say never again, we mean no, never again. How will we stop tragedy from happening again? And I encourage you all to keep these things in mind as you go on with your evening. I think we were going to close with some Q&A. And if there are any questions from the audience for any of us here, we can take those at this time as well.
Thank you.
No questions. Yes? Oh, okay. Go ahead, Ms. Shakira, ask a
Yes, the new books that are out right now. I saw a few up front. Can you explain what you have?
Yes, okay. Well, I have a book, a children's book that came out last October, Holt Publishing, called Okra Stew, and it's a book about Sankofa, reaching back and bringing forward. And so I'm very proud of that. I both wrote and illustrated that book. I am a visual artist. My husband, can you talk? He can talk, okay.
And with the strength of God and my ancestors, I am thankful for the vocal ability to answer your question. There are two books called my Geechee Literature Series that were written in 2022, self-published by my wife and myself. And we call it the Geechee Literature Series because, think of it, Geechee and literature as an oxymoron. Years ago, you would not have considered literature as anything that was Geechee or Gullah. But I wanted literature that will portray us as a living culture with the belief systems, the cultural practices, the foodways that from years ago are maintained to this day. And in closing, I hope to read an excerpt from my upcoming historical novel, Raptors in the Ricelands, and it will be released by Belle Isle Books in April 30th of 2024. And hopefully this excerpt will inspire you to pre-order.
Do you have any other questions? Yes.
I would say that me growing up in Charleston, I've often thought about how to extend Gullah Geechee culture. You know, what are the things that we haven't crossed yet? And I guess that would be my question for y'all. What is the future of Gullah Geechee culture to y'all?
Thank you for that question. So I don't have a definitive answer, but I feel like it looks like going backwards in a lot of ways. I think it is embracing that time is not linear and that there is so much that we have to revisit and then revitalize in the ways that are relevant to us. So while there's not, it'll look like this, I think that it will feel like us knowing ourselves and loving ourselves and answering to what we want to be called and speaking in the languages that we created and being proud of that. And so I feel like that is a future that is happening and that will evolve.
One of the wonderful gifts of getting old is that you begin to actually see where you've been. And when Ron and I began doing this work, which you see today, back in 1986, some of y'all weren't born, There were people who said, first, why are you talking about this? Why are you using this language? There were people who said, why are you helping translate the Bible into a language that we want to forget? And here we are all these years later, and there are people like you and others who are proudly claiming and owning yourself, who are reaching back into the pots the way our ancestors cooked, who are reaching out into the gardens the way our ancestors grew things, who are looking at how our ancestors worship, but reimagining it for the future. And sometimes, you know, like, I have to, like, we can't watch the news. And you think, it looks like you think about all the ground you lost, and yet, here you are. Here you are. Here we are. With a knowledge of ourselves, with a desire and the ability, with the technology, to look back and bring forward. That's Sankofa. And I think the future of Gullah Geechee culture is Sankofa. Go back and fetch it and bring it forward.
In President Obama's second inauguration, the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor Commission was in the inaugural parade, and I was chairman of the commission at that time. And as we waited on the bus to begin the parade, I had a question. You know, what makes this moment important for each of you? And some of the younger ones on the bus said that for them, they did not have the shame. They did not have, you know, the ill feeling toward this heritage as some of the older ones of us had experienced during our youth. And that's what I see as the future of Gullah Geechee, of the youth, taking pride in who we are and what our heritage is and how our heritage is shared around the world.
And I just want to add that Gullah Gullah Island aired for the first time 30 years ago this year, and it has been, yes, shout out to Gullah Gullah Island. It has been really remarkable to witness the ways that show in particular has impacted generation after generation into the present, that there are people who see themselves more clearly and love themselves out loud because of the work that y'all have been doing for almost 40 years. So, thank you.
I'm gonna piggyback off of what Sarah said. As a 90s baby, I'm sitting here like, that's Gullah Gullah Island right here in front of me. Oh my God, I'm having a fangirl moment. And I just want to take a moment to say thank you all, because when I was 6 years old, I didn't really know what I was looking at, but I did take so much pride from what you all were sharing with us. And I can see now as a 33-year-old woman, like how powerful that moment at 6 is for me at 33. So I just want to say thank y'all. And I have a request. I don't know if we can sing Gullah Gullah Island before the night is over with, but I would, listen, that would make my day, so no pressure.
We might try that. We'll see what happens with Mr. Ron's voice here. You know what I love about that is because y'all are grown, and it's like seeing your children grow. And we get so much. We had no idea. We had no idea. We were doing the work you see us doing now. And we had a friend who was an author. And Gloria Naylor, she wrote The Women of Brewster Place, she wrote Mama Day, and she was a friend because she had written a book about Gullah Geechee, and she was down on St. Helena, and that was my husband's home. And she introduced us to some friends of hers. And she said, they're trying to find new shows, you know, and they heard about what I told them what you do. And they said, oh, maybe we can do a show about you. That's how it happened. No agent, no manager, it was the grace of God. Right when we were ready for the next thing, we had one child who had traveled all over the world in the car seat. Plane, train, automobile. And then I was pregnant with the second one, and I was like, I can't do 2 children like this. What's next? God, what's next? And what's next? It was grace. We had no idea what it was. No idea. So grateful. So grateful.
I have a Gullah New Testament, and I wanted to thank you for the work that you did on that. I read it, obviously not out loud, but when I read it silently, I actually hear it being read by the ancestors. So thank you guys so much.
Okay. Okay.
Well, the producers, in the naming of characters, asked for names. So we passed along different words and expressions to them. I do want to say that initially, for the pilot, it wasn't a large yellow pollywog, because when the producers came to us with an idea, they thought that the family pet was this puppet named Hodag. They said that in your community, there's this creature that's part hog and part dog. And we said, no, there isn't. And we were told, well, in Black, African-American communities in your areas, we said, no, there is not. And thankfully, they did not maintain that character, but they came up with a large yellow pollywog, and one of the names, expressions given to them was Binya. Now, Binya means a resident, a Gullah Geechee person who is a native of a Gullah Geechee community who has been here or Binya. And because it was a show for preschoolers, they doubled the word. Binya, 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 Pollywog. That's how that name came about.
And the yellow and orange frog was actually a nod to our executive producer from Puerto Rico. And there were these little yellow frogs in Puerto Rico, and she wanted to also acknowledge her heritage in the show. Well, I'm familiar with Rinky Tinky's music. I don't feel like I'm an authority to speak on them. A lot of the music they do follows the music of Janie Hunter and the Moving Star Hall Singers. As a matter of fact, there's a portrait of Janie Hunter out front. They are following in the traditional steps of Janie Hunter and Bessie Smith and the Georgia Sea Island Singers, and improvising that with a jazz version of very traditional music. They are excellent. They are excellent at it. But if you do some research, you will hear those songs. You'll hear Janie Hunter singing those songs in her voice. Now, Janie Hunter lived on Johns Island, and she had like 183 children. I don't know. She might have some children here. But for when we were very young, in our 20s, we had the opportunity to travel with Janie Hunter and Nappy Brown and Drink Smalls and some of the other traditional singers at that time, the Georgia Sea Island Singers. We were these young kids, sort of like sitting up under the elders and you know, bringing our own musical interpretation of their music. And now we're the old folk. But I love it, having other folk coming up, you know, doing their own thing with the kind of music that we learned from them, that has passed down to them. They didn't create it.
And the group's name, Ranky Tanky, that was one of the lyrics of the song that Janie Hunter would sing. We would hear her ourselves Pain in my head, ranky-tanky. Pain in my arm, ranky-tanky. To move your body with expression.
It was like a children's game.
Right.
Yeah, and that's where that phrase comes from.
And in the theme song, and I'm trying to save my voice to get to this last part, so it may be sung, I don't know. But in the theme song, the songwriter, the head songwriter, came up with the theme, but there was a portion of it, and I wanted to add something of our heritage. And just take your foot in your hand. I don't know how many of you are familiar with that, but it means if you get the visual of a rabbit that's running along with the 2 feet going forward, and it's like it's taking its front feet in its hand. Just take your foot in your hand. That means hurry up. Don't miss the good things that we've planned.
Thank you so much for your questions and your attention, and you think you can do it?
Yes, and I just want to say for those who don't know Janie Hunter, Miss Natalie Days did a portrait of her. She is from Johns Island. She was part of the Moving Star Hall Praise House Singers. So the Praise House is located on River Road, Johns Island. And so Janie Hunter was a Gullah Geechee storyteller, and right now they're hoping to name the library on Johns Island after her. So we lift her up. She is our ancestor, and we lift her up, and please be in prayer about the naming of the library. You have one question? One last question.
I'm just thinking about the idea of what gets passed down through song as we repeat songs, and I'm wondering specifically, has there anything that has surprised you or anything new that you hear from ancestors as you repeat the songs?
That's a really good question. What do you think? It's, you talk, is there anything new that I hear? I am regularly affirmed. We sang Mama's favorite song. And sometimes when I think about that, find no fault. It's like, I can find fault now. But for her and those who sing it to say that no matter what fault I see, I am still going on, I need that reminder sometimes. And so I hear it anew whenever I sing it. I hear it anew. I've been singing some of these songs for like 40 years, and there were folk who've been singing them longer, much, much longer than we did. And each time, it means as much to me. It has never gotten to a point where I can sing that song and not feel it. Doesn't matter what it is. It's like you sing those songs and the division between them and us goes away. Does that make sense? The dimensionality that says I am here and they were there goes away, and we are all here. We are all here. When I sing, I open my mouth unto the Lord, I feel like I've just said, okay, y'all, we're all up here. We're all up here. We're all in here. And I don't, that's not new, but it's always present. So I hope I'm saying something that makes sense. Okay, I know how it feels.
For me, in the singing of This Light of Mine, I hear my ancestors encouraging me that there are different ways to let your light shine. There are many different kinds of ways to express your dignity and your pride in the heritage that we have passed on to you. It could be in a new song, a new story, a new tale told in a different way, a new movie, anything. Let your light shine. Don't sit on it, but let it shine.
And I'm going to close, but I have to acknowledge my daughter, because they mentioned a piece, Be Here Now, The South is a Portal, that my daughter wrote. So for my daughter in her 30s, to sit down and begin to recognize stuff that I didn't even know.
I didn't know, I never thought of. And so I go, wow, I never even thought of that. What will you come up with? What will you come up with? What will you come up with? What are you going to teach me? I am so thrilled by that. I'm thrilled by your brilliance. I'm thrilled by your questions. A few years ago, I was at Art Fields. I am a painter. And a young man walked up to me, and he was like 7 feet tall. He was an artist. No, he was real tall. So he said, we're talking about painting. He's a painter. I'm a painter. Then he said, oh, I know you. So I was waiting for him to say he knew me because he saw me on Gullah Gullah Island. But no, he said, when I was in 2nd grade, you came to my school. And you told this story. And then this big grown man stands there in that gallery and tells us a story that we told when he was 7. And you think you have no idea. I'm like, who will you be? I mean, I'm thrilled for that. I plan to live to be 100-something. That's my plan, y'all. But who will you be? What will you do? What ideal will you get that I have never even thought of? I am so excited for that. I'm so excited for that.
Please, let's give it up for the Days family. Please, stand in ovation. Thank you for being the preservationists that you are and teaching us to do the same. We all are historians. We are our preservationists. It is up to us to keep the history and legacy alive. So just be seated for a few more moments. We just have a few remarks and reflections from the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor and their new interim executive director, and then you'll hear from our faith-based manager, Dr. Aurelio Givens, and then a blessing from the Days family, a send-off.
Stories encapsulated in art serve as a bridge between generations, transcending barriers of time, language, and geography, and connecting us to the very essence of what it means to be human. Good evening, I'm Dewana Brockington, and I am the interim executive director for the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor. Thank you. I am excited. It's been 2 weeks, and the work has been overwhelming, but absolutely amazing. And I just have a few words to share about some other projects that we have coming up that we would love for you to participate in if you're able. And I want to just extend another thanks to the Days family for their amazing work, not just carrying this torch for the culture, of the culture, by the culture. So we are forever thankful. Building on the spirit of this celebration, we have an upcoming event with the Coastal Carolina University, and it's alongside with the Joyner Institute for Gullah and African Diaspora Studies on February 22nd through the 24th, and it's called, the conference is IGAD, and it is a Gullah Geechee celebration. In addition to that, we also have the upcoming Rice Festival in North Carolina. And this is an opportunity to learn about and celebrate the region's rich and diverse cultural history of rice farming. And I don't know about you guys, but I was born, raised, and I subsist on rice today. So this is very much key to agricultural history of our area and the Gullah Geechee community. Both of these events underscore the corridor's commitment to not only preserving, but actively celebrating and engaging in our cultural heritage and the people that make this work, that this dream continues to live on and thrive. And so we are most excited about that. And so on behalf of the commission, the commissioners, and the staff of the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor, and our amazing partner, the International African American Museum. We thank you for sharing in this celebration with us and being open to the awakening. Thank you.
Now give yourself a hand. Oh, you can do better than that. Give yourself a hand. Yeah, that's right. Make some noise for yourself. Oh, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. We're excited and we thank you for your presence today. At the International African American Museum, our mission is to honor the untold stories of the African American journey. And so what we've done tonight here on James Island is to remember what we should never forget, that there's a great people that has created our culture that we still live, breathe, and be today. And so it's important to understand that we take advantage of these opportunities where we share with one another what it is to be a part of who we are. And so with that in mind, we thank Ron and Natalie and their daughter Sarah for sharing their gifts with us. This is the 5th year that the Awakening of the Ancestors through music has taken place, largely on the effort of Reverend DeMette Jenkins, so we thank God for the visionary here. I would be remiss if I don't identify my team, so I'm going to ask that Vereen wave your hand. I know Vereen, outreach coordinator somewhere in this house. We've heard from her. Brandy, my administrative assistant, coordinator actually. We're grateful for that. And we've got some other IAAM officers in the house. If you would just stand. Kiana, our special event coordinator. Karma Anderson, the bully in finance department. I didn't mean to say that aloud. No, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Is there anyone else from IAM? I don't want to forget you and then you get mad at me when we get to the office. Listen, we can't do it without volunteers. Let's hear it for our volunteers. They keep us together. So on behalf of Dr. Tanya Matthews, our CEO and president, as well as our board of directors, we really do appreciate you coming out this evening. Now, you need to tune into our website and our social media outlets all the time to figure out what's going on. Now, of course, I'm going to be a little biased and talk about what's happening from the faith-based department. Put February 29th on your calendar. February 29th has to be on your calendar. Meet me at the museum where we're going to party. We're partying. Because James Baldwin, anyone has ever heard that name? He's turning 100 this year. Now, for those of you who said, I thought he was dead, wait a minute, he can't ever die. His work as an activism, as a thought-provoker leader during the civil rights era must never die. And so we've got Dr. Frank Thomas, right, coming in from Chicago, that's going to hold a conversation in the midst of our partying, hold a conversation for us to be ever mindful of the works of James Baldwin and how it is still very much relevant today. How many of you realize that there's really nothing new under the sun? So there's a whole lot that he talked about years ago that's very prevalent today, and so we're going to have a conversation about that. And we can't have that conversation without you. And so we want you to be a part of it. Yes, there is a registration. Go to our website and register for it, but it's a free event. Most of our events from out of the faith-based department are free due to the endowment, the Lilly Endowment. And so we want you to be a part of it. Tell a friend, tell a neighbor. I'll be looking for you on the 29th. I should not say even if you forget to register, come, but I'm going to say it anyway. Even if you forget to register, come, and I'll deal with the repercussions of saying that later. But we're grateful for you, and I just want to say thank you for all that you've done. And same time, same place next year, there will be an awakening of the ancestors, and we've got a special treat for you. I would actually tell you who they are, but I'm not going to tell you who they are. I'm not going to tell you they're coming from Tennessee. I can't tell you that because we had to confirm all of that. I can't tell you they're coming from a historical black institute. I can't tell you anything about them. So I can't tell you they can sing. Lord knows they can sing. They're very jubilant as well. I can't tell you anything about them. But I just want you to know next year you might as well just come on and just know. And I don't know, hopefully First Baptist will allow us to use this beautiful facility. Let's thank God for First Baptist. I got a good friend named Charlie Murray, who's the pastor here. I'll ask him. I'm not asking you, Karma Anderson. For those of you who go to First Baptist, pray for your member, Karma Anderson. Y'all do pray? Pray a little harder, baby. Pray a little harder. We need your prayers at the museum. So we're grateful. But nonetheless, we're going to be closed out. Thank y'all for your patience. We're going to close out by the days.
Well, before words of closing, I want to give a nod to the other Days family member who is not here, our son, brother, Simeon Days, who I'm sure some of you know, and he plays the character Jabari Long On, All-American, that's right. Well, and other acting projects as well. But in response to the question that was asked, one of the things for this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. He is working on a very significant project, a dramatic reimagination of a show that lots of people hold dear to their hearts. So your prayers are asked that it will move forth with all that it needs to be a wonderful and needed program for those around the world. Now, this, as I said earlier, is my upcoming novel, Raptors in the Ricelands. What's its name? And it is published by Belle Isle Books, and it will be released on April 30th. Hopefully you can go to Amazon. You can now go to Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com and pre-order it. This is an excerpt from it, and before I ask you to stand, Gregory's history lesson began to churn stories like the pounding of a mortar and pestle, husking grains of rice. Now, there are 4 couples who find themselves gathered in a graveyard. So they are among the ancestors. And the rhythm of the words pounded up and down, up and down. Have you ever seen or have you used the mortars and pestles? Well, I would like you now to stand. I want you to repeat these words after me and think of the rhythm of the mortars and pestles going up and down. Repeat after me. No eye has seen. No ear has heard. No mind has conceived. What God has in store for this people, his African people, brought to this land years ago on ships, ripped in chains, snatched from their homelands. They brought their homelands within their memories to see this new world. Past is present, present is past, future is now. We are the future our ancestors dreamed.
Thank you, everyone. Good night. Please go to the tables out front, pick up some brochures, some books, say hello to the Days family, take some pictures with the Days family. Blessings on tonight.